In this tutorial, we're going to look at using JiT Paint to create really nice illustrations with your students. So Paint can be accessed through the JiT tool from our J2 Launchpad here. And it opens up in JiT Write, so we're going to select Paint from the top here. So it opens up offering us different template backgrounds, which we will use in a second, but we've also got alternatives. We can use different pictures. So when we click pictures, it opens up into My Files. So it might be that you've got a picture that you would like to use as a template, as a background within My Files, and we could access it here. Now, as a teacher, you can share files with your students. So if you have shared a background with your students that you want them to use, for example, maybe a space background, and you'd like them to draw in the planets in the right order, you could access, they will be able to access that through the shared files area. We've also got the option to have a Google search. That might be a background that your students search themselves. We've got our external file source button. So if you have a picture that is stored externally, such as on a local drive or a USB stick, that will be accessed there. You've also got the option to take a picture in. So this can be a quite nice activity. Students could take a picture of somewhere around school or of themselves, and then they can draw over the top of it. But what we're going to do is we're going to use one of the template backgrounds. I'm going to use the woods here because I'm going to create a Gruffalo picture because my students are studying the Gruffalo in school, for example. So our tools here, our paint tools, are along the left-hand side at the bottom. So I have all the usual tools. I have my eraser tool, all the different colours. Now I can choose more specific colours if I want to. So I've got this button here, the dropper tool. If I click that, I can choose a really specific colour with my students. I've also got the option, if I want to use a dropper tool. So you can see as I hover over the picture, it gives me the option to choose a different colour. So I'm going to choose that colour. So as soon as I click, you can see that colour is selected and I can click OK. So now I can paint over the top of that. I can use my fill tool as well to fill that in. So I can really change how the background looks. Now the other option I've got is using textured paint tools. So the textured paint tools are here, and we can click on this roller button here, and it gives me the different textures that I can choose from. So I'm going to choose one of these grass textures, and I might fill this in to make it just look a little bit more interesting. There we go. I might choose a different texture. So I'm going to choose some longer grass, I think. There we go. And I can fill all that in there. There we go. I might choose a different path colour maybe. Let's make that a nice brick path. There we go. Okay. Of course, if I go wrong, I do have the undo button, so I can undo all of that if I don't like the way it looks. Now, the other thing that we can do with our textures is we can paint them. Instead of just filling them, we can paint them. And what's nice about the paint function is that we can change how big the pattern is of our texture. So this adjusts the size of the paintbrush, but this adjusts the size of the texture itself. So I'm going to make that medium size. There we go. And I'm just going to paint this on my trees at the top to make it look like those trees are nice and alive. There we go, as opposed to just bare bark. There we go. Okay, so that's my background done. Now to add in our characters. So the character libraries are here. Of course, I could draw in my character if I want to, but I'm going to use some of these PNGs, these picture format characters that we've got loaded. So at the moment it's Halloween library. I don't want that. So I'm going to click on the word Halloween. It will open up my different libraries. So as we did with the template backgrounds, I can choose different sources for my character. We do have the picture libraries already loaded, or I can select My Files. So we are going to use this Gruffalo and this mouse picture in a second. Now as a teacher, if I'd shared these images with my students, they would access it through the shared files area. They could perform a Google search, or they can take pictures straight in. So we have lots of different options. I'm going to use the Gruffalo picture that I have already loaded and saved into my Files. So I can do that just by clicking on the character I'd like to use. So we can see he's quite big at the moment. Might make him even bigger. After all, it is the Gruffalo. And I'm going to flip him round. and I'm just going to click where I would like to place him. There we go. I'm going to do the same again. I'm going to load in my mouse. So I'm going to go to my files and I'm going to click my mouse. I'm going to make him a lot smaller. There we go. I'm going to place him over here maybe. Now, just to link this into literacy, I'm going to add in a speech bubble. So this is a good way of sort of linking that in, getting your kids typing, getting them to use their literacy skills. It might be that they do lots of different pictures with lots of different text in it to illustrate a story. So we're going to do that by clicking on the speech bubble area here. And I'm going to select a square speech bubble. There we go. Now we've got this text box at the bottom, so I'm just going to type in my text. Oh, there we go. And don't forget my exclamation mark. And you can see as soon as I stop typing, that's added that into that speech bubble there. So I'm going to make that a little bit bigger. And I'm going to hover it over. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. It's not particularly clear. There we go. And I'm going to hover it over my mouse. And I'm going to click. And there we go. We've got our text. We've got our characters. We've got our background. Now within Paint, we can title our painting. So I'm going to go Gruffalo. There we go. Now that's a good habit to get your students into, is titling their work. We've also got the option to record some sound. So it might be that they've created a picture, but they've got a script that they'd like to record with it. So we can record sound into it. We can save this as a file. So we're going to save up here. Now if I press this button, this will save this as a working file. So that means my students can come in at a later date and they can edit their painting further if they wanted to. Now if they have completed it and they like how their picture looks, we also have the option to save as an image. So I'm going to save this as an image. And what that will do, it will just save the picture as a picture itself. And I'm going to show you the difference between the two once it finishes saving. It's on a go slow today for a change. So this will be accessed through our My Files area. So we can go to our J2 launch, we can go to My Files, and you can see that picture is saved here. So if I click on that picture, that's that nice flat picture format there. And we've also got the working file here. There we go. So my students can go in, they can edit that further. Now the other thing we can do, of course, as with all of our files, is we have the option to share this as a QR code. So this is really nice if you want to print anything out in books. You don't have to print the whole picture. I know it's expensive to print in colour. So this is another option for you. We can click on the green eye in My Files. We can go to QR code, and that will print out a QR code there. So we can print this and stick it in our students' books as opposed to printing out the whole picture. So that is a very quick summary about how to create pictures in JiT Paint.